All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. This is the fourth in our webinar series with the um, U.S. IAU Office of Astronomy and Education NIAC team for the U.S. And we are very excited tonight to have Dr. Mark Wagner joining us, where he is going to be sharing some resources that you can use in lieu of having a telescope in your classroom where students can collect real astronomical images. And this is really exciting because if you've attended our past webinars, we have been talking all about using real astronomical data in the classroom. So, this one is students actually collecting that data. So it's very exciting. We're very happy to have him here. And at the end, Mr. Steve Jones, one of the NIAC affiliates, is going to be sharing how he has used Slooh in his classroom. So I'm going to turn it over. Sorry, just muted myself too soon while I was still talking. You should be able to share screen and everything. And I'm going to turn it over to you.
Awesome. I'm during the muting, I'm presuming you said my name, but I will go ahead and share the screen. Thank you.
Dr. Mark
Uh,
Wagner, thank you.
yeah. Just wanted to be sure you meant me. Awesome. I will go ahead and share a few tabs I've got open here. And thank you for having me, Christine and William. Just by way of a super quick introduction, I'm a lifelong space enthusiast. I'm a one-time astronautical engineering student, a former high school English teacher, and a career education technologist, now entirely focused on space education. So I'm particularly happy to share Slooh with you because this is mission-aligned work for me, getting kids to do authentic science. They're capturing their own data, they're writing firsthand observations, they're sharing with a community of peers and experts. This is good stuff. I've been in ed tech for a long time, and this is by far the coolest program I've been involved with. And I like to just dive right into a live demo. So, in short, Slooh is giving students access to a network of remote telescopes around the globe. And very, very recently, in addition to telescopes looking up and taking in the awe and wonder of the universe, we also have a experience of satellites looking down, observing the Earth, and giving kids a whole new opportunity when it comes to Earth and space science. Where the best traction with astronomy for a lot of schools was the Earth and space science standards. And so, kind of doubling down on that and providing Earth observation satellites to look down at the Earth as well. So let me show you what that looks like. And Christine or William or any of the other participants, if you guys want to pipe in with questions or to cause and ask for, pause and ask for clarification, just let me know. So this is what the Slooh dashboard looks like, and I'll kind of skim over some of these things and come back around to a few. But this is a great place to start a live demo. We'll be able to come back later and look at the telescopes and how to operate the satellites. The quests is the curriculum portion of this. We call them learning quests, where kids are actually they're engaging with content, but they're going out and capturing their own data. And of course, the community is a big part of it. Like a scientist, you're sharing with a community of peers and experts, right? Workspaces are where teachers will actually manage their students and their assignments. And there's all kinds of learning baked right in. So there's a ton of reference guides as well. But as we scroll down here, you can see there's special events happening from time to time, and the real focus is on student observations. So what you'll see oftentimes here are images taken by students or other users on Slooh, and then the observations that they've written up based on what they're seeing and what they're learning about. And others are able to engage with that by liking it or commenting back on it. And a lot of times, K-12 students will get comments back from our astronomers or others using the system, and it's really a very constructive community and great to be a part of. Right now, we're kind of lucky. Several of the telescopes in the Canary Islands are online. You'll see, unfortunately, in Chile, the telescopes are offline due to weather, but in a few hours here, they'll come online in Australia. So under conditions where maybe there's not any weather issues for the day, we're able to have telescopes online 24/7. And so there are some significant differences between having access to remote telescopes online and having a telescope on campus. There's no substitute for looking through an eyepiece and seeing something spectacular, but if you've got a telescope on campus, you've got to have people come back at night. You got to convince teachers and students to come back at night. You got to have somebody that can operate the telescope and point it at interesting things. But you're worried about local weather and you're worried about local light pollution, which for a lot of students, particularly in North America, they're living in city centers or population centers where light pollution is a significant issue, and at lower altitudes where weather is a significant issue. So what we're talking about here are half-meter telescopes, like massive robotic telescopes at places, dark sky places at high altitude. So we're talking 13,000 feet in the Canary Islands or Chile or Australian outback, where they just got a spectacular view of the sky most of the time. So right now, we can see several telescopes in the Canary Islands are online. What we can do is actually go drop in on one, because anytime the telescope is online, it's streaming whatever has been scheduled. So students or other users here have scheduled a number of things. I'm going to move my interface here. If we go into the queue, we can see just about every 5 minutes is an exposure, and you can see the sorts of things that have been scheduled. And we can sit here and watch as each exposure goes by. So this particular one, if we go back to the live one, this is an advanced mission pointed at particular celestial coordinates. I couldn't tell you what this user is studying, but you do have, with the advanced accounts, you've got the ability to point the telescope anywhere. In a minute, I'll show you, Slooh has their catalog of 1,000 interesting things to look at in the sky, which is really quite comprehensive from a K-12 education perspective. And often if you're watching the stream, I'm going to switch to another telescope. Often if you're watching the stream, there's a audio file playing that's a little mini lecture. So these are 5-minute, mostly 5-minute exposures. You'll often see the color come in during those 5 minutes. But you'll also, if you're looking at some of the more popular things to look at in the sky, you might hear a little mini lecture from a professional astronomer sharing about what you're looking at. And I learned a lot just from leaving the telescope running and listening to the mini lectures. I love Bob Berman from the UK reading about the Orion Nebula or whatever we're looking at and the history of it and maybe the mythology behind it. And Helen Avery's voiceovers are fantastic too, and there are others. So the telescopes are always streaming if they're online, and you can see what everybody's looking at. And at any given time, you can grab a picture of the object that's being observed at that moment and save that for your own archive as well. But I'm going to show you how you can actually schedule your own missions of interesting things. And of course, I'll go cooking show on you here and share some finished products as well. If I scroll down a little bit here, we can see that we can now schedule our own telescope mission. Here's the Slooh 1000, 1,000 most interesting things to look at in the sky. But we can also go in by the Messier catalog, the New General catalog, and some others with the advanced accounts. But I'm just going to go here and let's say we want to see something interesting like the Mission Nebulae. And what it's calculating right now is which nebulae can we actually see right now. If you see one that's grayed out, it's probably behind the sun. But lots to choose from here. The Eagle Nebula is fun. That's where the pillars of creation are. You've probably seen those popularized by the James Webb Telescope recently. That's a fun one to look at in visible light, though, through our telescopes. But let's say we're interested in the Orion Nebula, one of my favorites. When we click this next button here to preview mission, what it's going to do is tell us which telescope at which time is going to be our best bet to capture the Orion Nebula. So here we go. It's saying that this looks like a couple of days from now, which is oftentimes is much sooner than that, on the Chile #2 telescope at 10 minutes after midnight UTC, we're going to be able to get a great picture of Orion Nebula. So I'm going to schedule that mission. And we'll see a few things happen here. Right away, here's a learning opportunity. We can go read the guide about that particular object, or the guide about that class of objects, being emission nebulae in this case. And if we go back to our missions, we'll see that we now have a mission scheduled in 23 hours. so not as far off as I thought. The object will be fairly high in the sky, and the moon will be below the horizon. So those are pretty darn good conditions right now. And your kids will learn to plan around those things over time, but you don't have to worry about it out the gate. This is now telling us which telescope, which field of view, which filter. It's handling all of that for good pictures of the Orion Nebula. If you get more advanced, you can start adjusting all of that on your own. And I'm going to go cooking show here and show you what that might look like. If we were online in 23 hours, it would be kind of a reasonable afternoon time, actually. I could actually watch the image come in. We would see it be grayscale and get more and more colorful, and I could listen to Bob Berman's lecture about it. But even if you are not able to do that, you can come down into your photos and see all of your past photos after they've been taken. And in fact, we probably don't have to go too far back to see my Orion Nebula photos, or you can search. Whoops. Okay. Well, that's unusual and unexpected. I'm probably doing something wrong while I'm on camera, but but I have prepped it anyway. Here is a recent picture I took of the Orion Nebula. You're not going to get a picture like this out of your backyard telescope either. For context, most people know of the three stars that make up Orion's belt, and there are sort of three more fainter ones that make up his sword. The second star in the sword is this nebula. And it's not just a star, it's actually this cloud of gas that's getting struck by energy from nearby stars and emitting light, largely red light. My understanding is that's the hydrogen being excited there and giving off energy. We're seeing that red wavelength. But you can also point the telescope at things in our solar system. So just a couple nights ago, got a really spectacular picture of the full moon. This was actually while I was at an event on Saturday. And again, you can get these pictures even in the middle of the day. Kids can be doing this through any device with a browser, right? It's worth mentioning we also have a solar observatory in the Canary Islands. So a lot of times, early in our day anyway, if it's still light in the Canary Islands, you can be watching the sun live and get spectacular pictures like this. You can see sunspots, you can see protrusions here with solar flares and so forth. And last year, actually right around this time last year, when the sun was so active, kids got some really great images of the activity on the sun causing the aurora borealis and all of those things that we saw so far south last year. That was on account of solar weather. Um, Now, though, we also have telescopes looking, I'm sorry, not telescopes. In addition to the telescopes looking up, we have satellites looking down. So we're able to get images like this. This is my hometown. This is Yale Loop here in Irvine, and and our house is down here near the South Lake. Everybody wants to take a picture of their hometown. This is just a couple of weeks ago. We had still had green on the nearby hills. Pretty awesome. I also like to spend a lot of time up in Big Bear, and you can see really clearly here that the north-facing slopes still have snow on them, where the south-facing slopes are getting more sun, and all of the snow has burned off. So you're able to, this now opens up all kinds of doors when it comes to Earth and space science. We can study weather, we can study changes over time, like erosion, like glacier melt. We can study, geology, geography, urban planning, land use. It really opens a lot of doors. And what that looks like from a curricular perspective, I'll show you the finished product and then I'll dive back into a quest. But if we're studying things like, say, nebulae, at the end of a quest, there is a demonstration of student learning. They're creating some sort of artifact. In this case, when they've learned about the 4 different kinds of nebulae, they're creating a poster that represents them. So these are images that the student has taken. These are descriptions that the student has written as they build out their poster. When it comes to the new Earth and Space Science quests, the poster might look something like this. If you're learning the parts of the river, you've taken images of the different parts of a river elsewhere, around the world, and built out your own poster with your own captions and understandings captured there as well. What that looks like on the inside, and then I'll pause for questions before showing more. If we go into the quests here, we will see in all quests a number of learning progressions. There's a bunch at the elementary school science level, even more at middle school and high school. If we dive into something like high school physics, there's about 2 dozen quests. And if you make your way through all of this, it's a complete high school astronomy. I maybe said physics, but I selected astronomy, sorry. This is a complete high school astronomy curriculum if you make your way through all of these quests. And what they look like, I think I've got one open here. I worked my way through the Nifty Nebulae quest. You can see what standards are addressed, and you notice it's not just science standards. As a former English teacher, there's a lot of nonfiction reading and writing going on here. There are some quests that are about mythology. For instance, you learn the Incan constellations, you learn the mythology behind them as you go. There's certainly quests with some math standards being addressed and social studies standards as well. But in this case, we're learning about nebulae, and as you make your way through the quest, the newer quests, by the way, all very bite-sized bits of information, but students are actually engaging with actual content. They might be clicking out to see examples of what they're learning about, but ultimately they're going to be engaging with this. They're going to be capturing their own data. They're going to be writing about it. They're going to be answering questions as they go. Sometimes there's multiple choice questions built in. A lot of times it's short answer. And they make their way through the content, submitting their own work and submitting their own images. If we go to the end of the quest, this is where there'll be instructions for creating either a poster or an animation or some other artifact demonstrating their learning. In this case, here's how to construct your poster. And you ultimately use a template, or you can go off template, and you're importing your own images, you're writing your own observations. And now this can be downloaded, it can be printed out in the classroom, it can be put on a slide deck so kids can also hit those listening and speaking standards as they're sharing their work. They can be posted to the community, although most often what you're posting is a particular image with an observation like we saw before. And I will pop in there just so you guys can see some of the variety. So before we go any deeper, that's kind of like a quick and dirty overview of the system. Um, so happy to pause here and answer questions about it, but you guys can see just the kind of spectacular photos that come out of this, and the observations that students and users are writing as they're using the system. So Christine and William, if there's questions from either of you or from the participants, now's a great time.
Bill, you had a question.
Yes. Mark, do you use electronically assisted astronomy at all, EAA, where the image builds up over time, or is it totally Q observing and you just get the final result?
I not having the astronomy background that you probably do. I don't know that this will be a complete answer for you, but most of what happens with Slooh's telescopes is a 5-minute exposure. So you will actually see, and I might be able to show you this. Um, Over time, a picture like this will start out grayscale and the color will come in. And the system is taking care of most of the processing from field of view to the filter to any post-processing to clean up the image. That's all happening relatively live over the course of the 5-minute exposure. You'll see it update a couple of times during the exposure. A lot of the more advanced users will bring down, and I do want to show you guys this if I get back into my pictures, will bring down the raw fits data, and they might take multiple exposures over time and layer those and process their own images in other software outside of Slooh. So for example, if I go into one of mine, let's just go into Omega Centauri here. You can see I've taken pictures of it over time. And if I click into any one of these, I can grab all of the raw fits data and download that and process it in any other astronomy software. So Slooh's doing a lot of that for you by default, but you can still get to the raw data and you know make a multi-image layer over time and pull out the noise more yourself. So maybe I'm not sure if that's
So,
I'm quite addressing what you need, but hopefully that's part of it anyway.
it sounds like you might be doing it within those 5 minutes. I
Yeah.
mean, can you schedule it so that the students can see the image building up?
Yes, there's a degree of like luck involved. Like, is it going to be during a school day or not? If you're trying to
Hmm.
just grab the next best one, there are some ways to go in and schedule a specific block. It may not be as good for the object you're trying to image, but
Hmm.
over time, if you can pick a time that's during school when the object is, say, visible from, the Canary Islands or something, uh, then yes, you could watch it live. Or kids, like, they can go home on their own computer at home. Each kid's got their own account. Typically, they could watch it at 8 p.m. at night, or I mean, they could get up at 2 a.m. or something if they had to. If you watch it live, you will see, particularly with a colorful object, it's real clear. You'll see the grayscale become more colorful over time. You'll see the detail get a little bit better. You'll see the image get cleaned up a little bit. But one of the nice things about it is they're not canned images. You'll see a lot of times they're not perfect, and so then you talk about, well, what were the conditions that night? What do you think that streak going through, is? What is that sort of visible artifact? So it kind of leads to some good discussions about kind of real astronomy, capturing good data, and what the conditions might be, and the effect of the moonlight and the object altitude and all that, and the weather, and the condensation. um, and then it makes it really special when you get a great image that you scheduled and you planned appropriately.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bill, were you asking if by electronic imagery, do you mean like the raw files, like the FITS files?
Not necessarily. It's just that I think it's a neat experience for students to see how the data get better over
Yeah.
time
Mhm.
with the coads.
So yes, I believe that they are able to see that. So that was a request that I know I and some other college faculty had early on, was that students be able to see that process and do the data reduction and be able to eliminate the noise. And that is so for like the higher ed package and like graduate students, they can absolutely do that. But like I would have done that with my high school students because I wanted them to learn the components of an astronomical image. So like they can now do photometry and astrometry and actually do the reduction of the noise and and look at the layering of the images and look at the building of the image over time. And they can build it themselves.
And this may be a better example. I don't know why it wasn't coming up earlier, but I just searched for the Orion Nebula, and you can see here this is a particular exposure that I did back in September. This is the one I was just sharing, I think. And early on, it's this black and white look early in the exposure, and toward the end, all of the color has come in. And like Christine said, you can grab the FITS data here, and we have students looking at exoplanet transitions using luminosity data of particular stars. So you really can go deep and do legitimate research. We have high school students that have published journal articles and got into Harvard on account of this. And even though there's learning quests for kindergartners and first graders, there's also graduate students using these telescopes for legitimate research, original research, I should say. Other questions at this point?
Well, I have another question, and it's how have you assessed your lesson plans? What process have you gone through for assessing them?
Ooh, that's a great question. We have, and I'm not the best person to talk to that. Our curriculum development team obviously puts a lot of time into building these and testing them with teachers, and they continue to evolve. For instance, I mentioned earlier that we sort of go with smaller and smaller chunks of text right now. So there's
Hmm.
chunk of text and then an interactive of some kind, chunk of text, interactive of some kind, and trying to make that more accessible to kids, regardless of their reading level. But also having that kind of that higher end where collegiate astronomy and graduate students can be engaging with it as well. In terms of how it's assessed, there's not a, there's no quizzes. There's a sort of formative assessments as they go through. There are the open-ended short answers. There's the multiple choice answers from time to time, but there's never quizzes and there's never a grade coming out of
Mhm.
Slooh, if that's what you're saying.
No,
One
no,
of
I
the
was
things that
thinking
a
of the
lot of
former.
what's that?
I was thinking of the former, how your the process for figuring out whether it's working.
Gotcha. So most of students or most teachers are grading their students either on completion or on it's all subtly gamified. So there's what we call gravity points, and they're getting
Hmm.
gravity points for sharing observations and interacting with others, and they're getting gravity points for completing quests. There are badges. So there's all of it's standards aligned, and there's a badging system and there's the point system, but it's not like there's a like a summative assessment involved or anything like that.
Hmm.
Can I speak to that for a moment,
No,
Mark?
sure, please, Steve. Yeah.
So, one of the things that I've done again in my high school level, as Mark said, it's kind of a completion-based type of thing. But at the end of each of the quests, there's usually some kind of product that the student has to finish, be it a poster or whatever. And so, what I've been doing is I kind of go through the quest to see if it's something I want to assign, and then I throw together a quick rubric on whatever that last product is. Because what I end up having is I end up having, if I'm not careful, students will go to that last product and they'll just Google an image,
Mm.
and because you can always find whatever your own image is and upload it to Slooh, and then they're putting on whatever they Google. So I always have something in there about, if you notice each of the images that you get download from Slooh, it has a little Slooh logo in the bottom, little watermark in the bottom corner. So I always have stuff like that. But that's basically what I do is I just throw together a real quick rubric to give the kids. But as far as everything else in there, it's pretty much completion based.
And there's teachers, there's collegiate professors that will say you must reach 3,000 gravity points or must complete, these quests. In fact, one thing I didn't show you guys yet is the learning progressions. You saw it in the system where we could sort by elementary or sort by subject area. But just for example, we have a lot of suggested learning progressions where if you're teaching elementary school, these particular quests are likely to hit a lot. I mean, it's very state by state, but likely to hit a lot of the elementary science standards. Middle school, there's even more, and then high school, we've got particular progressions for physics or astronomy. If you get into collegiate astronomy, if you go through these 22 quests, you've completed a complete intro to astronomy or astronomy 101 course. And we've got the new learning progressions around Earth and space science. Like I said, that opens up a lot of opportunity for mapping and weather systems and geology and geography and that sort of thing as well. And we've got some new progressions coming that are more focused on CTE skills. I mean, after all, kids are uh, operating remote telescopes and satellites. So there's an opportunity to teach satellite IT and real job skills that'll help them as they participate in the growing space economy. Other questions? And Christine, when we do, I want to give a little more wait time, but when we do run out of questions, obviously we can hear from Steve, but then I've got the other resources to share as well, if time permits.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Cool. Well, if there's no other questions for the time being, it might be a great time for Steve to share a little bit more about how he's using it with his class. Does that sound good, Steve?
Works for me.
Awesome. I will. Are you going to share your screen? I can stop sharing.
Yes.
Okay.
So Steve is a fabulous teacher in Georgia. He is also a NAEC affiliate and sharing a lot of what he is doing in his classes with us. We then share what the affiliates are doing with the larger astronomy education community globally. So it's a new thing that the NAEC teams have been able to bring in affiliates. If that is something that you guys online are interested in doing, please reach out to Bill or I. In fact, I'll put my email in the chat. But yeah, very excited to have Steve be able to share what he's doing. He is doing some just such amazing things across the board with his students. I mean, I could have him lead an entire webinar on just the cool space stuff that he's doing. I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right. Well, thank you. That was a very nice build-up. I hope I can live up to it. So this is our first year at my school using Slooh. Uh, I'd been introduced to it a while back. Actually, I think Mark had shared some stuff on social media about what he was doing with it, and so I started checking it out as well, and got involved with them and meeting with them, and finally was able to get my school to latch onto the program with me. And so I've introduced it in my class, and I use the quests to kind of introduce a lot of things. And some of those quests are really short term, but a lot of them are long term. So you could set it up where it could be an entire semester worth of stuff they have to do. Again, depending on what they're wanting to observe, when is it going to be available to view, that sort of thing. So you do have to kind of be aware of that as you do it. Um, so I've been real impressed with what the kids have done with it. And every semester, I assign my students a semester project where they can pick basically anything that we're covering that semester. So they kind of have an idea, a map of what we're doing for the semester, and they can pick any topic they want, and they can do any kind of research on it and become an expert in that topic, and then they can present it in any type of method they want. If they want to write a song about a black hole, or they want to do a poster, I have gotten some really amazing paintings. Again, I work at a STEM magnet school. We don't have an art program or anything like that. It's amazing what these students do when you just kind of give them the opportunity to uh, throw things together and show off a little bit. Well, I had a student who latched onto Slooh, and this is what he did with his semester project. And he had a whole presentation to go along with it. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here with what he did. Again, he had a whole presentation to go along with this, but basically he had gone through and he had taken all of these pictures using Slooh, using the different telescopes, and he basically did a presentation to some of the other faculty, etc., of the different things that you could do with Slooh and how much he enjoyed just kind of going in on his own, not even a quest that I had assigned, just going in and seeing what all he could find and putting it together. And so he talked about each one of these different things that he found in there. And I liked his last page here. He played around with some of the color filters as we talk about, because we've done some work pulling down light curves and working with different color filters and putting things together. And so I really liked how he kind of pulled out this picture out of Slooh. And then he got one image where it had a Starlink satellite that actually went through the picture while they were taking it. So that was really cool. So this is just one of those things that, again, this wasn't necessarily something with Slooh that I assigned. I assigned the general topic, but they used Slooh as that tool to be able to kind of express what they really loved about astronomy and kind of talk about some of the things they had seen. So that's what I really enjoyed seeing my students really kind of latch onto this and go. I have several other students who have they've because the students can go in and they can actually pull up a quest and just start one on their own. It doesn't necessarily have to be assigned to them. And I've had several of them that have gone in and just on their own pulled some up, and they'll come and show me, hey, Mr. Jones, look here, here's what I was working on. I worked on this quest that I found this really cool image. Check this out. And that's just really cool. Again, that's what I want. I want them to be excited about it. Not that, oh, I have to do another assignment. I got to check another box and get another
Mhm.
grade. This gives them that opportunity. I have a astrophotography rig of my own that I do several different imaging things with. I've got a C star and stuff like that, and I'm teaching the kids how to use that. So when you talk about seeing the images stack and putting them together, I use that, but this gives them an opportunity to go home and just try their own hand at doing some of that astrophotography as well. So I really think it's been a fantastic design for being used in the classroom. There's a couple things I think could be improved, but again, that's all part of the feedback they want from us as teachers as we use it to give them that feedback so that they can then try to improve it as they go for other people as well. So that's how I use it. So if anybody's any questions for me, I'll be glad to answer them.
What are the grades you're teaching?
So I teach most it's the astronomy class is an elective science class, and so it's usually people just trying to get that last science elective or whatever. So it's mostly seniors and a couple of juniors. So I've got a lot of students that have already finished physics, and so that's good if they've got that physics background. We can really delve deep into astronomy and what's going on, and I don't have to spend a lot of time with a lot of the background in optics and everything else.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes, Jessica.
Hi. Are you using it as more of a supplement or a like an engagement kind of an activity then? Are you?
Both. Yeah, because it depends on if you look at some of the quests,
Mhm.
there's a couple of them I've used. Like there's the how big quest.
Mhm.
And I've used that one as some of those kind of it's like homework. Start working on this on your own, and it
Uh-huh.
introduces the concept and gets them the idea before I actually teach a lesson in the classroom.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I use a lot of it for some different introductory type of things.
S-
Uh, some of the quests I do use as supplement to what I've got going on in the class. You know, if there's like, oh boy, this quest really goes on, or I've actually kind of made up a couple of my own where I'm like, hey guys, go pull up Slooh, go see if you can find this thing and get a picture of it and show
Oh,
me
that's awesome.
what you
That's
do.
really cool.
Yeah, you can make up your own stuff.
But that's good. That helps. And if you assign something, does everyone have their own account? Like they go in and you can see what they've done? Like,
So from what I've seen, and that's one of the things I would like to see change a little, and maybe it's just that I haven't found it yet. But students have to have their own account, and you basically create a class. So you have a teacher portal, you create a class, and then you give the kids a code. They go to Slooh, they sign up with their email address, and they can jump right in there. I think it's set up for Google Classroom. Our school is not a Google school; we're a Microsoft school, so students have to use their own accounts when they set that up.
Mark, is that
Yeah, so the system that Steve described is super straightforward. It gives you a link and you can put it in an email to kids or put it on your website and kids just click on it and join themselves.
Mm.
Alternatively, you can add the kids by email, like if you have rosters. Alternatively, Slooh has an integration with a number of SIS systems. So like
Mm.
PowerSchool or Canva,
Schoology? Yeah.
Canvas. You can synchronize your class lists.
Mm.
Alternatively, you can just send your rosters to Slooh and they'll set it up for you.
Okay. Okay. And can you see their progress or?
You can
So
see
yeah, you
who's
can see their
completing certain
progress.
quests, and then you can pop in to comment on them or whatever. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Okay.
And
Yeah,
you can create your own workspace too. So I'm the STEM education person for Cosmic Girls. So we have a whole dedicated forum just for Cosmic Girls where they have this, and it's girls from all over the world and largely in countries where they don't have access to any sort of classes for this. So
Mhm.
Slooh graciously partnered with us
Oh,
and
wonderful.
we gave access to all of these girls. So they now have their own dedicated workspace where they can share, like it's all gamified, right? So they can compete against each other, they get points against each other. We had like the lunar eclipse challenge, and they can also, like, they just have this communal forum where they can ask questions, they can comment on each other's, they have this like collective learning space that's just them. So you can set that up for your classes too, where it's essentially like a blog, I guess, like where they can comment. And I guess kids don't use blogs anymore, but it's like a feed. But
It's like the community thing we showed earlier, but just for
yeah,
your space.
for your classes or your students.
now here's the thing that I've noticed again. So I pulled up a random student here, and this is how you go in. You can see, okay, how have they progressed, and where are they going with it? The thing that I can't do is I can't go in here, click on step 2, and see what they answered.
Oh, I see.
So
So
that's
you
what I
can
would
their
like as a
progress.
teacher. I
Yeah.
would like to be able to see what did they answer. If there's a way to do it, I haven't found it yet. So I don't know if Mark's got
What's
any insight into that, but
the download button? What is that download? Just 6 out of 6 or?
no, I'll click it. We'll find out.
So you then I had to do that because when I was using this with my classes a few years ago, it's just come a long way in the progression. So you get their whole quest. So like that's what I had to download for every student, and then
Oh.
Yeah,
I
there it
could
is.
see their answers and see their progress,
Mhm.
and then you see the images that populate. But I will
Yeah.
say something that students really love about this is, say they set something, they go to bed, they wake up, they get their picture in their inbox in the morning. And I had kids that just thought it was the coolest thing. They were like, do I get to keep these? Like, can I print this? And
Oh,
it's
that is
their
cool.
image that they
Yeah.
took.
Mm-hmm.
And Steve, I don't think it's
Definitely.
exactly what you're looking for, but if you go through the workspace into observations, then you can be commenting on their individual observations that way. But
Oh, that I
yeah,
just want.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I have seen that. Yeah.
That's
But
cool.
you're right. That's not exactly what I was thinking. I was thinking if I could just click into that
that
step
would be
one,
cool
step two,
for sure.
instead of
Yeah,
having to download the PDF and look
yeah,
at it.
Yeah, because
But that
downloading
PDF
like
is there for it.
90 students would be horrible. Yeah.
yes, yeah. You
Okay.
want to be able to just pop in, right?
Yeah,
It's
definitely.
good feedback.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for that.
Mhm.
Very helpful.
Other questions for Steve? Otherwise, what I can do is I'll share a little bit about the
I
different
have a
accounts.
real telescope right here.
Oh, so cool.
So no.
I'll share a little bit about the different accounts and the pricing on that, and then because I know not everybody's going to be jumping on board with Slooh too. I've got some other free resources I will share with everyone, and it sounded like Christine might have some funding opportunities to share too. So let me share my screen again, and when it comes to pricing, if you are the lone nut on your campus and you want to set this up for your class, the easiest way in is the basic educator accounts. And even if you're a high school teacher, you can sign up for this middle school educator account. For $300, you'll have all the basic access. You'll have the Slooh 1000 catalog. You're going to be able to get into all of the Learning Quest activities and do more or less everything I demonstrated today. I didn't really get into the advanced features. If you sign up for the $750 a year account, you're going to also get all the other catalogs. So the Messier catalog and the New General catalog and others, you're going to be able to point at any celestial coordinates and use all the advanced features in terms of telescope control. In either case, that's your account and 35 students for the year. So it's really quite affordable. I mean, you're looking at less than $10 or less than $20 a year at those scales. And by comparison, if you're looking at, say, the amateur astronomer, that's $200 a year for one account. So these school accounts are really well priced because for about the same price, you're getting yourself and 35 students.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, if you get that at the school level, the bulk pricing starts to come in. So even at 500 students, now you're talking $7 a kid per year. And at the district level, you can bring that much further down to $5 or $3. And right now, being kind of the perfect time of year to be doing this, if you're talking about a district level purchase at bulk, the CEO is offering a 3-for-1 deal. So if you can get that $3 a kid for a district level account, he's going to offer 3 years for that. So now it's down to $1 a kid a year. So if you're interested in any kind of bulk deal, definitely reach out to me. If you're interested in the basic accounts, you can just buy that online. Whether you're a teacher or an amateur astronomer, there's options to just buy that online. There happens to also be a homeschool account, so that's an interesting way. If you want to just try things out for a month, you could sign up online for a month, $39.95, and try that out with a handful of student accounts. It's 4 student accounts for the homeschool one. But really, if you guys are into this, I'd say get yourself an educator account with the 35 students, or reach out to me for a quote, and it's a good time of year for that. Christine, did you have some funding opportunities you wanted to
I
share?
do.
Yeah.
So I have a Google Doc that I will send to all of you as participants in the webinar. But here, if I could have someone click on these links and just make sure that they work in that format. Just click on any one of those, and can you just someone give me a thumbs up that they work?
Looks like it.
Cool. Okay. And I will be sending you guys a document afterwards just to thank you and follow up, and I'll send those out to you guys. And it'll have all of our contact information, contact for Mark. And you can reach out to any of us with any questions. So thank you guys so much for joining. I will flag that the Space Foundation grant that is on there and the Space Grant Consortiums, every state has a Space Grant Consortium and they support teachers and they support projects. Those two, and I think I conveniently have those located at the end of that list, those would be very fruitful. I would also encourage, you can even do things like oh gosh, what is the one where you ask parents to donate?
Oh,
There's
I want to say
something
teachers pay
strange.
teachers, but it's not that.
GoFundMe or
Donors
like,
No, there's one
No.
that's specifically for teachers. And it used to be only for specific equipment, but you can put in now like, hey, I want to buy this.
So not donors choose. That used to be the one.
Maybe it's donors
Yeah.
choose.
That's
I think
it.
that's it. Yeah,
Yeah.
donors choose.
Donors choose.
So, what you could do for something like this would be to make the case of like, this is what I want my students to do. They're going to collect real astronomical images. You make the case, you put it out there, you blast it all over social media, and that could do it too, especially with that 3-for-1 deal. Like that's pretty good.
wait, sorry, really quick. That 3-for-1 deal, is that 3,500 for 3 years?
Yeah, I don't know that he would make a similar deal at a school level, but at a district level, for sure, they're deal making right now. So
Wait.
there was a district just earlier this week where they offered a 3-for-1, and there was already a $3 a kid on the price sheet, and they brought it so it's $1 a kid per year.
Oh, so you have to say like, I want this many kids, and then they.
Yes,
and
yeah,
then-
yeah.
Okay,
And
okay, gotcha.
obviously, like the best deals are going to be at the district level if you're talking,
Yeah, well, that's what I was
20,000 kids.
thinking about district level, but I was just okay.
And then if anybody happens to be here from LAUSD, there's an ELOP or Extended Learning Opportunity Funding that is ideal to use for Slooh. And perhaps your district will have something similar that's focused on enrichment or extended learning.
Okay.
Christine, would now be a good time here in the last couple of minutes to share a few other resources?
Absolutely.
Sweet. Let me. Here we go. So I'm going to share one more window. Hopefully you guys can see that. So a couple of years ago, I had the opportunity, my PhD's in ed tech, but I had the opportunity to go back for graduate certificates in space education and space philosophy. So who knew those existed, but what an exciting time to go back to school. And I had all my ducks in a row. So all the papers I wrote for both those programs are collected in this book. Which you can buy on Amazon if you like. But for anybody that's here today, or if we're passing the link on later, I'm going to give you guys a link to the full PDF of the book, so you guys can walk away with that. In fact, let me drop that in the chat right now. So there's the PDF of the full book interior. If you really want the physical copy or the Kindle copy, you can get that on Amazon, and I guess I will go ahead and drop that in there as well. On the back of that, I had the opportunity to work with the Space Prize Foundation, and I think this is when we met, Christine. Space Prize was similar to Cosmic Girls, was focused on inspiring and empowering young women to get involved with STEM education and aerospace careers. And we did that by running some pretty spectacular contests. So, for instance, when we did it in New York City, girls from all 5 boroughs submitted essays and videos, and the finalists got to do a mission at the Challenger Center, and winners got to go to Space Camp's leadership program and to go on zero-G parabolic flights and experience microgravity. I mean, spectacular stuff. But the question was, what do we do for the girls that don't win? And we wanted to have a meaningful education experience for all of them. So we ended up hand in hand with that program. We developed this curriculum and then released it as an open education resource so anybody can use it. So it was originally targeted at high school students, but you can use it really at any level where kids have the reading level and interest level. So it gets into why space is important to people on Earth, what sorts of skill sets and mindsets will be useful to students in a fast-moving, unpredictable future. Turns out if you're looking at scientists, engineers, and astronauts, those are similar skills to what might be helpful for, say, entrepreneurs or anybody tackling wicked problems down here, like climate change, for instance. We do have an introduction to space science, which is quite good and bite-sized, but you can get that kind of anywhere, as you can with the history of space exploration. It sees other elements of what's happening in the new space economy. It gets into issues of space philosophy, like the session Jessica and I were just in, but it gets into space and sustainability, governance and ethics, and future implications like, say, avoiding existential threats and achieving our higher aspirations for shepherding the terrestrial biosphere through the solar system and beyond. So it's really kind of an ambitious curriculum. It's 550 pages if you print it out as a PDF, but it's full of links to resources around the web. In fact, if we just pop in on something like Explorer's Mindset here, you'll see it's a little chunk of content, and then interactives from around the web, videos, activities, things like that. Chunk of content, interactive from around the web. So really, really rich resource, available for anybody. So you can get your hands on the book that inspired it. You can go use the open education resource that is the curriculum from Space Prize. And you can join us for the free online Space Education Summit coming up again on May 30th. So this is, boy, I think it's the 7th one we've done now. And we'll have an opening astronaut panel. We'll have breakout sessions throughout the day. And then there's a closing session with Frank White, who wrote the overview effect, and a special guest. So if you've got kids that day still, bring the students on Zoom with you. You can ask questions of the astronauts. They can stick around even for the sessions, although they're more oriented towards adults. And you can certainly bring them in for the fireside chat with Frank White, which is really pretty special. So it's occurring to me I should catch up on links. Here is, let's go back one. Here is the curriculum. You can also get there just by going to spaceeducation.org. Here is the summit. And I also want to mention, if you're looking for good content on YouTube, we did a guest speaker series. It's a couple of years old now, but when I was working on the Space Prize program, and we talked to people from across the space industry, some men, but mostly women, since we were focused on young women at the time. But just really cool folks from across the space industry. You can see we've got space artists and space lawyers and a space historian and a space interior designer who works on luxury spacecraft. So these are real jobs today that your kids could be preparing for. And even if we're talking about Slooh, one of the important things here is career readiness and workforce development, making sure that students who are graduating today have a good sense of what's possible and that they can be a part of it. The last thing I would point you towards, all of those are free. The last thing I would point you towards is, in addition to the book and the curriculum and all that, I developed a online course around the ideas that we're sharing here today. So if anybody's interested in that, it's 12 units, 12 Zoom meetings like this, and the opportunity to do some original research. I also take teachers out into the field. Our sort of signature event you see pictured here, we do Sunset at White Sands. But Friday, we take teachers on a full day tour of Spaceport America. And then Saturday and Sunday, we're visiting landforms that are analogous to places on the moon, Mars, and elsewhere in the solar system. So we're learning astrogeology, or AKA Earth and space science. We visit lava flows, sand dunes, craters, and places that you can tour the solar system without leaving New Mexico. So can't not share that at every opportunity. If you guys want to join me for the online class or any of the field experiences, that would be awesome. We have a new one coming up in Lassen, actually, with a partner. We see all 4 kinds of volcanoes throughout the solar system, geothermal features, mud pits, and so on. We get into the astrobiology on this trip with extremophiles that we might find on, say, Io or Venus or elsewhere in the solar system. And we have dark sky experiences. So I work with planetary scientist, Dr. Kirby Runyon, on both of these trips. And we also work with astronomer Dr. Pamela Gay, on the Lassen trip. So Really kind of spectacular experiences if you guys are interested in getting out in the field and taking all that new learning back to your classrooms and your communities. That's all I got, Christine. Hopefully it's a little something for everybody here.
And I just put the link to Aries Learning in the chat. And
Awesome.
like I said, we will get out all the links to you tomorrow. And that trip in Lassen, I actually spent my honeymoon there. And Lassen is seriously the coolest place. And if you have kids, you can tell them that you're going to the place with the coolest name called Bump Ass Hell.
That's right.
My kids will never forget that name.
The bubbling mud pits
Yes.
there, right?
The bubbling sulfur pits.
Yeah.
I might have a picture of my son when he was like 4, because you have to hike like 2 miles up. My son had to pee as soon as he got there. And you're out on these boardwalks over these bubbling sulfur pits. And before I could do anything, I look over and my son has pants dropped peeing into the sulfur.
Oh
Well,
dear.
that wasn't the worst smelling thing there, that's for sure.
Sure wasn't.
It's funny. I have a strong memory of my youngest there too. I think of it, that park is a little bit like a combination of Yellowstone and Yosemite. Like you can also
Yeah,
hike to these
with
beautiful
none of the
waterfalls.
visitors.
Yeah, with none of the visitors. Exactly. It's a hidden gem.
It's a
But
hidden
we did a
gem.
waterfall hike with a lot of climbing, and my youngest just went into a ball at one point.
Oh, I carried my youngest on this
Yes,
one
there was
for
some carrying.
sure. Yeah, because it's like all uphill. I mean, you're going up to the caldera. Yeah.
There are
Awesome.
also lava tubes. Oh,
Yes.
we talked about this too.
We did.
There
We
are
did,
lava
because my
tubes
husband
like
and
we
I
might
got
settle someday. Yes.
Yeah, my husband and I got separated on our honeymoon in those lava tubes. And they're horizontal tubes, so it's all, dried basalt, but there are places you're doing these extended belly crawls. And
Lovely.
we were in one that was a 7-mile cavern, and at that point we were pretty experienced spelunkers. We're like, we can do it. And we somehow we did this belly crawl. We ended up in this cavern with multiple other channels, and we got separated. And it's all, it's basalt, so it's so dense you can't, if you're in a cavern next to each other, it absorbs all the sound. So, we're literally screaming for each other and can't hear each other. We were separated for about an hour. I was thinking I was going to have to hike out, and I was like, great, just married him. Now he's going to die. That's all I'm thinking. And he had actually gotten to the very back of the cave and signed the book. And like a year later, there was a YouTuber who got back there and he's like, oh, Christine and Dan, how cool. They came here on their honeymoon. And he held it up and we reached out to him. We're like, hey, we're that couple. It was cool. He gave us a little shout out.
That's
So,
awesome.
yeah, very cool
We're not
spot.
going to get teachers lost in a 7-mile cavern, no.
No.
It was quite the experience.
What's the name of that lava tube?
Labyrinth.
Yeah, okay. There's a bunch there, so I know I've
There
been.
are.
Yeah.
There are, but there's a bunch right at the visitor center, which I would usually not be the type of person to stay around the visitor center. But I mean, they're all, I think they're there because they probably have to do so many rescues. I mean, we spent 3 days and didn't do them all right there.
Whoa.
And
I didn't know they were at the visitor center. Wow,
they're right at the visitor center.
I've been there several times. I went to ones that were a little on the north side, so I'm not.
There are some there too, but the ones that you actually go down and you spend hours in. But I mean, you need elbow pads, knee pads, helmets.
That's cool.
And I think if you're over, if you're a certain size, you're not fitting. There are places where it's like,
yikes. There's no way I could get to do that.
Suck in the belly and the booty. Don't eat cookies the day before.
We're not going in those places.
No.
Oh, I recommend it. Best thing ever. Oh, I'll put that link in. I was trying to collect all your links. So, Mark, if you could, I think I've got all your links.
I did put the Lassen link in, if that's
Yep, just got that one. I think I've got them all.
Cool.
Cool. All right. Awesome. Thank you guys so much. And our group has whittled down here. Thank you guys for joining. And looking forward to the next one. Have a wonderful evening.
Hey, Christine, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
On our NAEC affiliate, that Google form,
Uh-huh.
do you want to
Can we
put
stop recording?
everything?